Hi. Let's learn about what is comparative advantage. Comparative advantage is an economy's ability to produce a particular good or service at a lower opportunity cost than its trading partners. When used to describe international trade, it refers to the products that a country can produce more cheaply or easily than other countries. While this usually illustrates the benefits of trade, some contemporary economists now acknowledge that focusing only on comparative advantages can result in the exploitation and depletion of the country's resources. Comparative advantage is one of the most important concepts in economic theory and a fundamental tenet of the argument that all actors, at all times, can mutually benefit from cooperation and voluntary trade. The key to understanding comparative advantage is a solid grasp of opportunity cost. Put simply, an opportunity cost is a potential benefit that someone loses out on when selecting a particular option over another. People learn their comparative advantages through wages. This drives people into those jobs that they are comparatively best at. The greater the diversity in people and their skills, the greater the opportunity for beneficial trade through comparative advantage. As an example, consider a famous athlete like Michael Jordan. In this example, Joe has a comparative advantage, even though Michael Jordan could paint the house faster and better. The best trade would be for Michael Jordan to film a television commercial and pay Joe to paint his house. So long as Michael Jordan makes the expected $50,000 and Joe earns more than $100, the trade is a winner. Comparative advantage is contrasted with absolute advantage. Absolute advantage refers to the ability to produce more or better goods and services than somebody else, while comparative advantage refers to the ability to produce goods and services at a lower opportunity cost, not necessarily at a greater volume or quality. Competitive advantage refers to a company, economy, country, or individual's ability to provide a stronger value to consumers as compared with its competitors. It is similar to, but distinct from, comparative advantage. The theory of comparative advantage helps to explain why protectionism is typically unsuccessful. Adherents to this analytical approach believe that countries engaged in international trade will have already worked toward finding partners with comparative advantages. A contemporary example, China's comparative advantage with the United States is in the form of cheap labor. Chinese workers produce simple consumer goods at a much lower opportunity cost. The United States' comparative advantage is in specialized, capital-intensive labor. Rent-seeking occurs when one group organizes and lobbies the government to protect its interests. Even if laborers would be most productive by switching from making shoes to making computers, nobody in the shoe industry wants to lose their job or see profits decrease in the short run. Appeals to save American jobs and preserve a time-honored American craft abound, even though, in the long run, American laborers would be made relatively less productive and American consumers relatively poorer by such protectionist tactics. Following comparative advantage increases the efficiency of production by focusing only on those tasks or products that one can achieve more cheaply. Products that are more expensive or time-consuming to make can be purchased from elsewhere. In turn, this will improve a company's overall profit margins, since costs associated with less efficient production will be eliminated. While free trade allows developed countries to access cheap industrial labor, it also has high human costs due to the exploitation of local workforces. There are also strategic disadvantages to overspecialization, since that country would find itself dependent on global food prices. The law of comparative advantage is usually attributed to David Ricardo, who described the theory in On the Principles of Political Economy and Taxation, published in 1817. However, the idea of comparative advantage may have originated with Ricardo's mentor and editor, James Mill, who also wrote on the subject. Comparative advantage is usually measured in opportunity costs, or the value of the goods that could be produced with the same resources. This is then compared with the opportunity costs of another economic actor to produce the same goods. An interesting example of comparative advantages often arises for high-powered executives, who may consider hiring an assistant to answer their emails and perform certain secretarial functions. Together, they are ultimately more productive if they focus on their comparative advantages. Comparative advantage is one of the most important concepts in economics. In classical economics, this idea explains why people, countries, and businesses can experience greater collective benefits through trade and exchange than they can produce alone. However, contemporary economists have also pointed out that these gains can be one-sided, or result in exploitation of the weaker parties. Here are 4 key takeaways. 1. Comparative advantage is an economy's ability to produce a particular good or service at a lower opportunity cost than its trading partners. 2. The theory of comparative advantage introduces opportunity cost as a factor for analysis in choosing between different options for production. 3. Comparative advantage suggests that countries will engage in trade with one another, exporting the goods that they have a relative advantage in. 4. There are downsides to focusing only on a country's comparative advantages, which can exploit the country's labor and natural resources. Absolute advantage refers to the uncontested superiority of a country to produce a particular good better. Hope this would help. Thanks for watching.